2, 1.
Oh.
Okay. All right, great. All right. So we have talked about solving one-step equations. We've talked about solving two-step equations and three-step equations.
5-step equations.
And who knows? Well, now we're moving into multi-step equations. I don't know how many steps they take, right? Sometimes they might be 3, sometimes they might be 5, sometimes they, whatever. But it's going to be a little more complicated. This is where showing your work is so absolutely essential, right? If you do this stuff in your head, I guarantee you, at least a third of the time you'll get them wrong. Guaranteed. You know, unless you're phenomenally amazing, right? But it's just not a good idea to not show your work. So that's why we've been building to this point. First of all, I want to talk about a 2-step or a 3-step where that is something you know how to solve, but I just want to show you something that you might see before I get into actual multi steps, right? If I gave you something like 18 is equal to 2x minus 6. All right, why does this look different than what I've been showing you? So, Luke.
Usually you have a single number on the other side.
Yeah, normally it would be, that wouldn't be there. It would be 2x minus 6 equals 18, right? And those are easier to, I mean, I prefer solving them when they're written in that fashion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I like my x's on my left and then the answer on the right.
Yep.
So you have two options. We can solve it this way, the way it is. And let's do that first. I notice remember my goal is to get x all by itself. I want x isolated, right? This is in the way. This is not, that's in the way, but it's not, it's part of the x. It's actually saying how many x's I have. So Jaden, what would I do first?
You do plus x or plus 6.
Plus 6, right? That's in the way. So if that's a minus sign, then I've got to make sure my sign is plus there. And I've got to do the same thing here. Do not, by the way, I'm seeing people just put 6 and not put a plus or minus. And then they'll put 6 and not put a plus or minus. And then they do the wrong thing. They subtract or they add or something and they're getting the wrong answer. Always put your sign, make sure it's the opposite of that sign. Obviously, it's going to be these two signs have to match, right? And then, so now that is 24 is equal to 2x. Now what do? Yes, Lucas.
You divide each side by 2.
Divide each side by 2, right? And that gives me 12 is equal to x. Now, if you want to leave your answer like that, that's totally fine. I often will do this. You know, but it's up to you. They're the same thing, right? They're the same thing. Now, another way you could have solved it, though, just so you know, I don't do this very often, but I do it sometimes. It's good to get used to this where it's going to be backwards. Does that make sense? It's good to get used to that because you will experience those in these multi-steps. But another way you could do this is, does this say that 18 is equal to this?
Yeah.
Does that mean that this is equal to 18?
Yeah.
That means this is equal to 18?
Yeah.
Oh. Right? Right? It's totally fine to flip them if they're exactly identical to each other. You can put them on either side. You can put, right? So you could start out your equation right away like that if you wanted to. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that briefly because you're going to see them sort of like this. A lot of times you're going to just leave them like this and solve them. But if you change your mind and you want to, if there's room and you want to do the flip, that's fine too. All right, so first of all, some of it's going to be review. First of all, we're going to look at something like this. How about 9x minus 12x plus 2x equals 25. All right. What do I do? What's the first thing I do? Sienna.
Add/subtract the like terms.
Okay. Meaning what?
Combine.
Okay, so where are my like terms? So I have, this says I have 9 x's, right? Minus 12 x's plus 2x, right? Those are all like terms. So I can combine the coefficients in front of the x's, right? Totally fine, and then just follow it with an x, right? So 9 minus 12, what's that? Negative 3 plus 2. Okay, so negative 1x is equal to 25. Now, is that what I want to know?
Yeah.
No.
Do I want to know what negative 1x is?
Yeah.
No.
I want to know what x is. So what would I do?
You would divide side by negative 1.
Yeah, divide. Remember, we divide whatever's in front of the x that you don't want there, you divide both sides by that number. Remember that? Right? So I'm just going to draw a line and divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, and that gives me x is equal to negative 25. And I'm done. Right? Makes sense? Makes sense? Pretty easy? Can't wait to read your notes, Mushi. Okay. All right, number 2. What if I gave you this? 2x plus 3x plus 4x. Let's see, what is that? Minus 7 equals 11. Okay, Luke, what would I do?
So you add all the like terms, which would be 9x, then you do minus 7.
So this, you're saying, is 9x.
Yeah,
Why can't I subtract 7 from this, though?
it's not a like term.
It's not a like term, right? It doesn't have x after it. This is saying, if you're ever confused, think of the x's like the word apple. 2 apples plus 3 apples, plus 4 apples, right? Minus 7. Not apple, just minus the number 7, right? They're not the same thing. You see what I'm saying? So you can't, or oranges, or whatever, you know? And so, we said that is 9x. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Minus 7 equals 11. Now it's a piece of cake, right? Rosemary, what would I do?
Add 7.
Add 7.
You.
9x is equal to 18. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. X is equal to 2. You guys are really good at that part,
Thanks.
at that stuff, right? Okay, so number 3.
Number 3.
We're moving a little harder, and then eventually we're going to create a little map of what you need to do, or like a little outline of what you do first, second, third, fourth. We're going to create it together, okay? Number 3, right? Now let's say I gave you this. This is also a slight review from another lecture. But let's say I gave you this. 2 parenthesis 2x minus 8 equals 4. Okay. Wait, no, sorry. Sorry, I apologize. I forgot, that's not what I meant to do. 2x minus 8, okay, we'll just do minus 2x equals 10. Why not? Okay? So we have this extra thing here. And suddenly it looks confusing because you've got the parentheses and the stuff like this. You cannot solve an equation like this when there's still parentheses. Is that clear? You have to get rid of the parentheses. And usually it's using distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. Okay? So somebody else, Dan.
Oh, so you would multiply 2 times 2, which is 4, and then 2 times, 8.
Which is 16, right? And then I've got minus 2x equals 10. Now it's easier. Don't you agree with me?
Yeah.
We simplified the table, right? Or the board, right? So what do I do now, Dan?
You would add or subtract the like terms.
Okay, which is, so I have 4x minus 2x. So that's 2x minus 16 is equal to 10. Now it's easy, right? Can I just go? So I'm gonna add 16, 2x is equal to 26. I'm gonna divide by 2, x is equal to 13, right?
Yep.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's 3. Now,
Yep.
we're gonna go,
4.
we're gonna go a little bit harder. Okay, yes, look.
What happened to the 4x when you did that?
So I have 4x. Now notice I have like terms. I have 4x's, and I have, I'm taking away 2x's.
Oh, I
So what property are we actually using? What is the property that we're using to do that?
added positives and negatives.
Not quite.
Like
So I'll just remind you what the properties are. Associative, commutative, distributive.
distributive.
What is it? We use distributive here, that's right. Then what did we use here? Associative, remember associative is where the parentheses change, right? The parentheses move with associative.
I guess
Remember,
it's
they're socializing, and then all of a sudden the guy in the middle turns this way and he's socializing with this one, right? But commutative means you move the numbers, right? You move them in different places. In essence, to get to this 2x, I decided to not do the minus 16 yet. Does that make sense? I moved, in my brain, I moved the negative 2x, Logan. I moved the negative 2x next to the 4x, right? And then I pushed the negative 16 over to the right. That's what I did in my brain. So that's how I got the 2x minus 16 equals 10. All right, you see that? Go ahead. Yes. By the way, if you guys need a bathroom, it's fine to do this for R for restroom. That's the sign language for restroom. And then I don't, because then I can, yeah, you can also do a T for toilet, either one, right? So that, just so you know. Oh, this is on the left. Sorry, guys. Okay, all right.
I guess you're gonna have to cut that one out.
If you're on the video, you guys have to yell really loud to tell me you need to go to the bathroom, because I won't see. All right, so here. So now I'm going to make things slightly harder. Let's say we have
What are you doing? Oh no.
4x
Like terms like both sides.
minus 12 is equal to 2x plus 8.
What?
Wow, that's a lot.
Okay, so what is different about this than anything else that I've thrown at you so far? Sienna.
Okay, there, instead of just like a straight out answer on one side, there's another.
Right,
equation.
so we have variables on both sides of the equal sign, right? You see that? That's a problem. That's a problem. You cannot solve this problem with variables on both sides of the equal sign. You have to move them to the same side, right?
I'll do this.
So, Gardner, what would I do?
So what you do first is you could either do negative 12 plus positive 12 and then positive 8 plus positive 12 to get
Okay,
the...
but I'm going to recommend that you deal with the variable first. And the reason why is if you deal with the number first, there's nothing wrong with what you did. Nothing wrong at all. You're totally right. But if you deal with the numbers first, then you're leaving yourself to possibly have to deal with negative x's, right? Like for example, let me just show you. If I did that, don't write this down. This is not what I would do to solve this personally, okay? Don't write this down. If, let's say I said, okay, I got to get all the x's on one side, and I decided to subtract 4x from both sides. That would get rid of that. And then I have negative 12 is equal to what? Negative 2x. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that I prefer to have my x's positive whenever possible.
Wait.
Because I like to keep it simple.
Wait.
Right? KISS. Keep it simple, silly, right? Keep it simple. Because negatives mess people up. It's easy to make a simple mistake when you've got a bunch of negatives in there. If you don't need them, why put them in there? Yes.
Wouldn't it be x minus 12 is equal to negative 2x plus 8?
No, because I have 4 apples. somebody took away 4 apples, how many apples do I have? None. So 0. Do you see what I'm saying? But I don't have to write the 0. Right? I actually removed all of these from this side, and I removed them also from this side, right? But I don't really want to do this. So this is what I do. I'll just tell you. When I have x's on both sides of the equal sign, I look at the coefficient in front of the x, right? That's 4x. And I look at the coefficient in front of this, that's 2x. Which one has the smaller number? 2, right? That's the one I want to subtract from both sides. Then I'm going to be dealing with positive numbers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Gardner.
So
Let's do the x first.
what you do first is what I did is 2x.
Subtract 2x, right?
Yep, and then you do
Subtract 2x.
from 4x.
And I draw my line.
And your new problem is
Oh, no.
2x minus 12 equals positive 8.
Yes, exactly.
Then
Right.
what I did
Yep.
was I did negative 12 plus positive 12.
So we're going to plus 12, plus 12.
And then your new problem is 2x equals 20.
Yes?
And then you do 2x divided by 2, and then 20 divided by 2, and x equals 10.
Beautiful. Very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. Fist to 5. Is that clear? You guys got it totally? Yes? Okay. Have you been writing this down, or do you need to borrow people's notes? Okay, good. Awesome. 4, 5. Now I'm going to make it slightly harder.
Oh, no.
All right?
Too hard. No.
All right, how about this?
Can I come up?
Who said that? Jan? Well, you can't because it's the lecture. I can't, by law, I can't put it up on YouTube if you guys are in the picture, right? That- How? Because I'd have to have parental sign, permission by parents.
Can I go home and sign a sheet and give it to you? I'm already on YouTube, so it's all good.
No, I can't, but not with the lecture, but afterwards we can. But okay, so Jan, help me with this.
So first what I would do is just distribute the property on both sides.
Okay,
So 3 times 2x and 3 times negative 3.
yeah,
And you get 6x minus 9 on one side.
yeah,
And then I would do distributed property on that side, and you get 4x minus 8.
yeah,
And then what I would do is I would subtract 4 from that side, and then subtract 4 from
you mean 4x?
4x from that side, and then 4x from negative 6. And then rewrite to 2x minus 9 equals negative 8. And then you would add 9 to both sides, and you would get 2x equals 1. And then you do 2 divided by 2 and 1 divided by 2, and you would get x equals a half.
Yeah, that's your answer. X equals 1/2. Beautiful. Pretty straightforward, really.
Yep.
The key is, remember, you cannot solve an equation until you get rid of parentheses. Got to get rid of parentheses, right? Got it. So as soon as Jan removed the parentheses, we had a simple problem like this, right? It was just subtract the 4x's. Okay, so let's make it a little harder.
No.
Number 6.
Too hard. I don't have enough room. Too hard.
Well, that's why you have a whole notebook.
Yeah.
You turn it
Flip
over,
to the
buddy.
other
New
page.
page. I've never had any. Well, actually, okay. All right. So here we go. What if I gave you 5 times? How about negative 5 times 2x minus
8.
8? That's fine. Plus
What?
6x minus 2x
Ugh,
equals
what?
4 parenthesis negative 2x
What?
Help.
plus
Gary, it's too long. You're fired.
plus 6
Jeez, Gary.
plus
Oh my
4x.
god. Thought we were
You
done.
want us to fit this all into one line?
Yeah, so the first thing you do, are there parentheses in there?
No.
Gotta get rid of the parentheses. It equals 2, right. Yeah, that's what, yeah. Okay, so we gotta get rid of our parentheses. So we gotta use, you know what? Since we're dealing
With big.
with a big problem, I
Oh,
think
no.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna write
Too big.
a process down, just so that we have it, okay? So number 1, what's the first thing we look at?
Parentheses.
Yeah, get rid of parentheses.
Mundo, mundo.
Bro.
I don't know.
Okay, get rid of parentheses, so let's do it. So negative 5 times 2x,
I need it.
Negative 10x.
okay, negative 5 times
Negative 8.
negative 8.
Negative 40.
Negative
No, 40.
5 times negative 8 is
40.
positive 40.
Yeah,
I always, when I do these with the negatives, when I'm distributing, I think of it as negative 5 times negative 8. I don't put minus and then negative 5 times 8, because then people mess up. They'll end up not seeing that it's positive, right? And so suddenly it's positive, then plus 6x minus 2x equals, I gotta get rid of this one as well. So that's negative 8x plus 24 plus 4x.
Negative 16 over negative.
So now what do I do?
Wait,
Logan,
add-
what would you do?
gosh.
Wait.
What would you do?
I am.
I know.
Yeah, no, stick. All right, so we got rid of the parentheses, Logan, we got rid of the parentheses. Now, are there any like terms? On the left side, just on the left side, on this side.
10x, 6x, and 2x.
All right, so we have like terms, right? We are going to combine those like terms, right? So let's do that. 2. Combine like terms on the left. And also combine like terms on the right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're not combining them to both sides,
We're not combining them.
on the right. Okay, here we go. So we've got negative, okay, what do we have? This is what I do. I think of it as negative 10x and negative 2x. I do all my negatives at the same time. So that gives me negative 12x. Negative 12x plus 6x, negative 6x. So I have negative 6x here, and I didn't do anything to that, so I got to still write that. Plus 40 is equal to, and now I'm going to, well, this is, okay, negative 8x, right?
Plus 4x is 4x.
Plus 4x is what?
Negative 4x.
Negative 4x plus 24. All right, so we got that. We've simplified it tremendously. Now what's the next step, Luke?
Do minus 40 on both sides.
Oh, what?
No.
Before you do that, think variables first. Are variables on both sides?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our next step. 3.
Oh.
Get all variables on the same side. On one side, right? On only one side. Let's see here. One side. Does that make sense to you? All right, so I have negative 4x and I have negative 6x. Which is the smallest number of x's? Jan.
Negative 6x.
Negative 6x is smaller than negative 4x, yes?
Yes.
You see that? Everybody gets that?
Yeah.
It's weird, but it is. That's the way it is. So I am going to what?
Plus 6x plus.
Plus 6x. Plus 6x. Plus 6x. Now suddenly, look, all of my x's are no longer there. I have no x's on the left side. That's awesome. So I just have 40 equals, and I've got 6x minus 4x, which is 2x, plus 24. Now what do I do?
Oh.
Jaden.
You do minus 40
No, minus
or minus 24.
You want to isolate the x's, right? This is in the way of these being alone,
Oh.
right?
You
See what I'm saying?
2.
So, well, no. You're going to keep the 2x together. That's x plus x, right? This is the problem. You want all your x's on the same side, right? So you're going to get rid of that. Minus 24. So then Okay, all right, so
Isolate the
4,
variable.
what did he do? He said we're gonna get all constants,
All
can I
them
call those
out.
constants?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because those numbers are constantly their same value, right?
Yeah.
24 and 40 are constants. Get all constants on other side, on the other side, right? Does that make sense, you guys? On the other side. So here we go. And then we've got, what's 40 minus 24?
16.
16 equals 2x. Divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 8. Wow. So next time you want to go out to eat, right? And you want to set reservations up for 8 people. You just tell them the number of reservations I'd like would be -5 parenthesis 2x minus 8 parenthesis plus 6x minus 2x equals 4 parenthesis -2x plus 6 parenthesis plus 4x. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Okay.
And then you get there.
All right. So yes.
Excuse me.
So the last thing is,
What?
what was the last thing we did? We did, we, oh,
Divide and
last thing is
stuff.
we solve for
Finish the
1x,
problem.
And then you eat your food.
right? We solve for 1x.
No, and then 6 is you eat your food.
Yes, and 6 is eat your
That's
food.
what I say.
Or, well,
Okay.
can't you the person's gonna be so confused that they just think it's a prank and we don't make an actual reservation, so you get there with 7 other
They-
people and then
You never mess with a mathematician. Ever. Okay, good questions before I turn off the video. Are there any questions?
no.
Pretty straightforward, right? Pretty
Oh, I have a
straightforward?
question.
Yes,
Can we turn off the video?
yes, yes.
Can you give us one like these so we can find out your age?
Ooh.
Please.
Well, not today, but